Let's get started with Dragon Physiology. Another one of the most popular, legendary, and powerful abilities found in every single culture around the world, and in so many mediums nowadays is considered cliche. Oh my god. It's considered cliche at this point. Users of this archaic but yet iconic ability possess the traits, attributes, characteristics, and or abilities of dragons. Now, this next part is gonna suck. Well, for me at least, because the word dragon is such an open-ended term that it can mean and stand for a variety of things. So because I don't want to end up swallowing my keyboard in frustration with you guys, I'm gonna keep it super simple. A dragon, in its simplest of terms, is a mythical monster resembling a giant reptile, sometimes shown having wings. Super simple. And don't worry, I'll get to the more complicated parts as we continue. But yeah, as a powerful and legendary creature, users of this power are typically depicted with serpentine or reptilian traits in addition to whatever fantastical abilities that are found within their respective myths. Now, they achieve this through either a full or partial transformation into a dragon, which then allows them to choose or mimic certain aspect of draconic beings, or they can just simply already be a dragon in the first place that has human-like intelligence or beyond human-like intelligence. Typically speaking though, there are two distinct cultural traditions of dragons. The Western dragon, which is derived from the European folk traditions. These caste dragons are related to the Greek, Middle Eastern, and African mythologies. And on the other hand, we have the Eastern dragon, whose caste has counterparts in China, Japan, Korea, and other East Asian countries. But no matter the type of dragon or how you want to mismatch it, it will still draw from one of these categories. Yeah, I know you guys have been asking for this one for a while, and well, better late than ever, right? Because the thing with dragons is, even though they're cool and are portrayed as powerful and everyone loves them, or at least likes to see them within a particular work of art, unfortunately, they're as fake can get, meaning they aren't real and were never real, as far as we humans know. But you know what else is real and will always be real? This channel, and how awesome it is, and the information I'm going to be dropping on you guys. So do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button in order to show your fire-breathing support. Pop a couple of mints first though. And if you're really into what I'm putting down, then hitting that share button will bring others in so we can build up this nerdy community a lot faster. But don't just take it from me, even a Hydra knows that two heads are better than one. So if you guys are ready to spread your wings and soar, then grab Dragon Ball Beats, call me Goku! Yeah! The history of dragons are, well, kind of weird because there's no actual historical accounts of dragons that we found, existing in our boring ass world. The closest that we have are dinosaurs and ancient reptiles that existed millions of years ago. And due to a drastic change in Earth and climate, all that remains are their fossils. I guess some of the more fantastical traits we prescribe to dragons can be found in, well, everyday reptiles we see on TV or in magazines like Komodo dragons, iguanas, snakes, and other serpentine creatures. But when it comes to actual dragons in history, nah, you're gonna be looking for nothing for a while. Well, forever, because it's nothing. But when it comes to finding this creature in mythology, oh boy, you'll be hard-pressed to not find a culture who hasn't imagined this creature and slapped it into their belief system, folklore, or superstition in any way, shape, or form. Meaning that cultures from around the world with no relation to each other have dragons in their mythology. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This goes as far back as ancient Mesopotamian art and literature, which is around the 8th millennium BC. From there, skipping ahead in time a little bit, there are amulets and devotional images of the serpentine creatures that go back as far as the, Neolithic China, essentially showing these creatures being objects of worship and reverence at that early point in human history. And to be honest, that's as far back as we can reliably trace, or I'll just say that that's as far as I'm willing to go back because this is not a historical video. This is a video about superpowers. But in the tradition of the West, European, African, sub-Saharan areas, the dragon is typically seen as a fire-breathing or death-bringing entity that tends to symbolize chaos or evil. Whereas in the Eastern tradition, the majority of Asia and its surrounding islands is usually viewed as a beneficial symbol of fertility associated with water and the heavens, knowledge, protection, and advancement. And because there are more than likely hundreds of named dragons in mythology, it would be counterintuitive to name them all here. But just so you guys know, there are a lot. And just like I stated, depending on what region they come from, they're also associated with themes and certain concepts as well, like many gods in their own right. Okay, so like stated earlier, dragons aren't real and probably have never existed. Okay, I'm pretty sure they never existed. I know, it's pretty sad, but preferably safer for us fragile little humans that way. There are, however, dozens of theories that exist as to why we imagine dragons as the fearsome creatures they're portrayed as. Because if you think about it, no matter what culture and how the dragon is represented or what role it takes, they are all respected, whether that respect comes from fear or from admiration. But like I said, no matter the theory, it all suggests that since humans evolved from primates, like monkeys or different types of primates, we inherited their instinctive reaction to snakes, large cats, and birds of prey. And if you think about it, most dragons in myth and popular culture share these traits. Even if you think about the earliest attested dragons, they all seem to resemble snakes or have snake-like attributes for some reason. Therefore, it kind of makes sense that dragons appear in nearly all cultures this way, because humans have an innate fear of snakes and other animals that were major predators of human ancestors. It just makes sense. And normally, that's what dragons are typically associated with. The concept of fear. And not to get too deep, but fear doesn't mean to be scared of something. The concept of fear exists on a wide spectrum that ranges from terror-inducing fear, which is the most common definition, all the way to inspiring reverence and respect, which is typically found in religious references of the term. And if you think about it, everything that we have imagined about these creatures drives that point home. I mean, come on, think about it. Typically, dragons are usually said to reside in hidden dark caves, mysterious deep pools, high up mountain reaches, undetectable sea bottoms, and cursed or haunted forest. All these places, mind you, would have been believed to be fraught with danger for our early human ancestors. Heck, even for us now with all our fancy technology, aka things that inspire fear. On top of that, dragons are viewed as hyper-intelligent creatures that possess or guard knowledge that they use to subjugate those they view as beneath them. I mean, how are you going to outthink a creature that's been around for a century or more? That would not only humble others, but, personally speaking, that would give me massive anxiety, inspire a form of fear. Even the way they're normally portrayed as huge, scaled, horned, element-breathing monsters that can either fly or travel faster than any realistic animal, on top of being resistant to most form of conventional damage, that's pretty scary if you think about it. AKA inspiring, well, you guys get it, I don't need to keep saying it. But going beyond that, in popular culture or forms of literature, the term dragon is often used to denote a rank in authority or a threat level that is beyond what's normally able to be dealt with. Oftentimes it's represented as the head threat or the threat right below the head threat. I mean, if you think about it in Asian cultures, the leader or supreme ruler of a nation was often referred to as a dragon, the son of a dragon, or even blessed by a dragon, but you get the idea. Any variation of these would give the title bearer massive status among his peers. If I understand it correctly, I believe Joseph Campbell created that particular trope. In regards to how the big bad would have a pet dragon or monster that would provide the physical challenge to the main cast, while the final antagonist would provide the mental or moral challenge. And in following that example, it's common to see a dragon when it isn't the big bad being the assistant or the pet of the big bad, basically meaning that they aren't the focus, but something used to emphasize how dangerous or how powerful the true focus character is, because they have control or authority over this powerful beast or powerful ranking individual. So, to wrap this part up, symbolically, dragons represent power, authority, and dominance, as dragons in both name and title normally hold significant influence over others, as well as imagination, creativity, and transformation, as the concept of this creature is found in every culture's literature and art, and is a staple of fantasy or imagination, as its very images change throughout time, from little tiny lizards to fire-breathing monsters or even celestial beings. That's why they can look like anything that inspires fear. There's that word again. While on the negative side, because there's a yin and yang to everything, they can symbolize danger and threats and an obstacle to overcome, as the term is never used in a soothing context in the vast majority of cases. But getting back into this concept as a superpower, when portrayed, it's hard-pressed to not find this power or concept portrayed at all. You would normally find this creature or users of this creature's power coming in a variety of shapes and sizes, along with various families and forms too. Normally, they're portrayed as serpentine creatures of great power or prestige that have supernatural capabilities beyond that of a normal member of their lizard-based caste. And yeah, like I stated earlier, dragons are typically classified in Eastern and Western varieties. Now, there are possibly hundreds of these creatures, and while I could list them all, I think you guys know me a little better than that now. So I'll briefly go over the most popular types so we can keep this video moving and what side of the planet they're normally associated with. In addition to that, I'll also list their traits and their symbolism. I just think it'll be a lot easier to knock that part out, but don't worry though, the various dragons that I cover will be getting their own videos, in addition to the ones I don't list. So if you don't see your favorite dragon here, relax.
Don't let the dragon drag on, man! Don't let the dragon drag on!
So, since I'm a Westerner, let's start with that cast of dragons. Typical dragons in Western media or mythology are scaly and reptilian, outwardly at least, and usually serpentine, aka snake-like. In fact, they tend to lean towards this heavily. They're generally depicted with pointed and unbranched horns or otherwise being entirely hornless. In some cases, they will normally have frills and fins and possess 4 legs, but this does vary as more legs means less intelligence, so the more intelligent dragons will have 4 legs and will probably be able to walk and talk like a human does. They'll also have 1 and or multiple heads and of course a distinct tail branching from their body, in a dinosaur-like manner. And they're typically on average about the size of a house, a bus, or even an aircraft, like planes. This category, however, is normally associated with fire, which they often breathe as a breath attack, if you will, or, live in it as an elemental affinity kind of thing. But if we go back in time a little in the Greco-Roman area, Germanic, or, medieval stories, the Western time period, they tend to lack the breath attacks that we're familiar with nowadays, but they still tended to be highly venomous, so, poisonous. Usually they live in mountains, caverns, swamps, or some type of well, a hole in the ground somewhere, which fits into the demonic or evil stereotype. So because they come from the ground, aka hell, or they come from mountains or volcanoes, aka fire and brimstone, they're typically seen as evil. So because of these previously mentioned traits, they're usually antagonistic towards humans and most other forms of life, if not fulfilling the role of the devil or big bad monster. So as such, their purpose in the story is to be slayed by a hero-like figure or any type of god, usually a storm god of some sort. I don't know why it's always electricity users versus dragons. I have no idea. I just don't know. These types can usually be intelligent or an instinctual beast. It just depends on how you want to portray it. And they love to hoard human valuables or receive sacrifices of human valuables ranging from gold, gemstones, human women, or special artifacts. Everybody wants a human woman, even dragons. That's wild. While at the same time being extremely long-lived, if not ageless, but they're still able to be killed through selective weak points like the eyes, chest, and more specifically the heart. They might even have weaknesses to certain artifacts that are special to humans in some way, shape, or form, which is why they tend to hoard them. If you're able to kill or injure one, their blood or fluids is either poisonous or grants special properties. Typical example of this cast of dragons include wyverns, which are a mythical animal, but they usually have 2 wings that act like their front legs, and then they have 2 regular legs in the back, in addition to a tail and horns or whatever else you want to give them. The Hydra are a type that originally spawned from Greek mythology and are usually depicted as a flightless dragon that usually resides in water or a swamp, and of course have more than 1 head, and the special property for them is if you cut 1 head off, 2 rapidly grow to replace it, so you can see how that gets out of hand. The heads usually have to be burned or neutralized in some way, shape, or form in order to prevent that. Hold up. The Drake type of dragon,
I'm the fucking man, y'all don't get it, do you?
Not the rapper. The Drake type of dragon is usually a creature related to dragons, but much smaller and less intelligent. It's usually an equivalent relationship between humans and chimpanzees, if you want to think about it like that. They come from the same genetic line, if you will, but dragons are the humans and the Drake is the monkey. And last but maybe kind of least, are the worm type, which are dragon lights, as in dragon Lite. They're normally presented as more serpentine than the other ones I just described, but if they do have wings, their wings are usually their only limb, so they don't tend to have legs. So from those subcategories, you'll find the majority of Western dragons fitting within that mold using the combinations I listed to mix and match whatever, type of dragon you want to create. Now we get to the Eastern dragons, which I think are cooler than the Western variety, but that's just my opinion. I only think that because they can be more unique. First off, they're normally portrayed as a mix and match critter type of creature, Although how they're mixed and matched can vary greatly, they can normally or sometimes be described as either serpents with feline traits, aka cats, lions, or tigers, or serpents with canine traits, dogs, wolves, coyotes. Oftentimes, due to mythology and the legends from the area they come from, they can evolve out of seahorses or legendary fish, or, the carp in this case, aka the goldfish. Appearance-wise, they generally possess short deer-like antlers, often have one head and 4 legs, but you'll find that in this variety that the longer a dragon, the more legs that he has. That's just weird like that. They can usually fly via some type of magic or energy source because they normally lack wings. Some of them do, but they normally lack wings. But when they do have wings, they're often bird-like, so feathers instead of skin like bats. Their size, however, is what usually separates them from their Western variety, as they can be as small as a grasshopper or large enough to fill the space between heaven and earth, or an unknown vacuum of space. Normally, though, they're associated with water and the sky, which ironically was considered to be an ocean in classic Chinese thought. So as such, they're considered to be bringers of rain. Furthermore, from there, the azure dragon, blue dragon, and the yellow dragon are associated with wood and earth respectively. And in some works, some specific Chinese dragons can breathe fire, but like I said, they're typically associated with water. They are normally seen living in rivers or in the sea, the sky, or another plane of existence altogether, unlike the Western dragon that lives in mountains and holes in the ground or in swamps or stuff like that. When it comes to the behavior, they're seen as benign but are capable of destructive force when provoked, so it's best to stay on their good side. But oftentimes, they can be rivals with tigers or other dragons because of their relation to the concept of yin and yang, or the cardinal directions, east, west, south, north. And speaking in terms of culture, they normally take on a masculine disposition, so it's very rare to see a female or feminine Eastern dragon. However, in Japanese folklore, some dragons can be portrayed as evil, and instead of hoarding magical treasures or divine artifacts, they tend to make them. But, if they had to hoard one thing out of anything that humans actually would desire, Eastern dragons tend to hoard knowledge and or wisdom, which they rarely share with mortals. So obviously, not only are they intelligent, they're usually a mentor archetype, semi-divine, if not outright a god itself. And in relation to the above, pretty much invincible, but it's not like people actively seek out these types of dragons in order to kill them anyway. They'd much rather worship them and gain whatever favor they have to bestow. And that would go a long way among humans trying to fight other humans than versus humans trying to fight a dragon. But anyway, this, like I mentioned earlier, is usually why Asian emperors refer to themselves as dragons. But anyway, if you wanted to try and find a weak point because you gotta kill dragons, legends state that these type of dragons, of the Eastern variety, usually have a single reverse scale under their chin and will go into a blind, uncontrollable rage if it's touched or rubbed the wrong way. Me, personally, I don't like being touched either, so I can see why they would freak out. Just keep your hands to yourself, people. And since they live and breathe the essence of life itself, they tend to be the exact opposite of poisonous, so it's very rare that you'll find an Eastern dragon having the poison affinity. Whew, that was a lot, and pretty much covers the different types of dragons in various parts around the world. But like I said in other videos, when you create your own, do what you want, mix and match as you please. It's who's going to tell you not to. But when this ability is shown, it ranges from the actual creature that can level mountains and keep towns in perpetual fear, there's that word again, all the way to the humanoid or non-humanoid beings that can take on the properties of these creatures. So you can expect a character with this power to obviously have enhanced senses, enhanced strength, enhanced speed, elemental manipulation of any type, depending on the dragon, flight, enhanced intelligence, telekinesis, telepathy in case they can't communicate normally, body manipulation for the transformation aspect, and immortality. And that's just listing the base abilities that they'll have. They have dozens more that I'll get into in a later video. So, typical stats for a user of this power range widely, but depending on the dragon and the type of role you want this, power to play in your story. So, typically, medium to high levels of attack power, medium to high levels of speed, and extremely high levels of durability and variety, as I covered earlier. Colors range the gauntlet as well, and if you don't feel like being too creative because that takes time, then you might take a page out of Dungeons & Dragons and see that they have colored dragons, non-colored dragons, and metallic colored dragons with their own alignments as well. Most people don't tend to like the alignment stuff, but if you needed to spark your creativity, go ahead and use it. Who cares? And there you have it. Dragon Physiology in a nutshell. Let me guys know if you want me to do an applications, associations, and users video. I guess that would be an application video for Dragon Physiology. It would be a little weird to do because it's not like the standard application video, but just let me know. I can see what I can do. The reason why I didn't do it now is because I think it's better to get more personal, with what I did just now than to list the applications for this broad of a power, because dragons can really have any power, so I would be listing them all day. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'll do a specific dragon and then I'll list the applications that specific dragon can do. Just let me know which one you want me to do next, like the Hydra or the Western Dragon or the Drake or something like that, and I'll go ahead and work on that. So until then, just consider this video the intro to all dragons and dragon-like abilities. So once again, remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know what you guys want me to do in the comment section. That really does help. Deuces.